Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Glassix Spotlight. Today, we're super excited to have Jacob Eells join us, a true innovator in the world of customer experience and an award winning CX leader. As a customer support manager at CareScribe, Jacob combines over 8 years of experience in customer support, coaching, and digital learning to drive exceptional customer and team outcomes. With his certified expertise in CX, Jacob has mastered the art of blending empathy, technical know how, and data driven insights to create meaningful connections between customers and companies. His leadership style focuses on fostering team growth, improving processes, and building customer centric cultures that align satisfaction with business success. Jacob's passion for emotional intelligence, problem solving, and creating win win situations for businesses and their clients has made him a standout voice in the industry. Whether he's mapping customer journeys, mentoring his team, or leveraging data to refine strategies, Jacob's work exemplifies what it means to lead with both heart and strategy. Jacob, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's our absolute pleasure. So, Jacob, before we jump into our today's discussion, is there anything exciting happening in your world right now, that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. There's lots of things that are happening for us here at CareScribe. We've got two products. So one is Captioned, which is our captioning and note-taking software. And our other product is TalkType, so that's our dictation software. And we've got some really exciting updates that are coming to those products. So one of which is going to be around AI summaries, so being able to have a chaptered summary of a meeting, whether it's a podcast like this or a one-to-one meeting, being able to have summaries of what was said in those meetings by who and everything. That's really exciting. So we're working on our strategy in terms of supporting customers using that new piece of functionality. So yeah, really exciting with that. And we've also got a new update for TalkType coming out very soon, which will be all around managing multiple documents when you're dictating. So you can hop and change between your shopping list, for example, and then over to an essay or an email that you might be writing and things like that. So yeah, really exciting stuff that is coming up, and I can't wait for the world to see those new features.
Wow, I love that innovation. um,
Yes.
Before we jump into today's discussion, I want to touch a little bit, maybe talk a little bit about your recent win at the 2024 CX Leaders Award as the Rising Star of the Year. So,
Yeah.
and I'm quoting, an exciting emerging talent, Jacob is making a significant impact early in his career and shows a bright future in customer experience. So I'm sure that that kind of experience was elevating in many ways. Anything you want to share more about this?
Yeah, it was very much a surprise that I won that award. So I went through the process in terms of looking at all the different categories for the leadership awards there. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, I kind of forgotten that I'd put in my application for it. So it was a couple of months after I did so, I suddenly got the email to say that I was nominated, and that in itself is an achievement. Particularly, in the world of customer experience and customer support, just to be recognised for the work that you're doing, in of itself is really, really exciting and really humbling as well. To then find out 2 or 3 weeks later that I had actually won was absolutely mind blowing. And to really just have that industry recognition in terms of the work and the efforts that I've put in, learning all of the new skills and trying to absorb as much information from other industry leaders and everything to then apply that into my own day to day work and everything, shown the massive amounts of improvements that we've made, particularly around supporting our customers here at CareScribe, but also just elevating the experience for customers. And I think one of the things that has always stuck with me is there was a statistic that I read not so long ago, how in 2025, 95% of companies will win or lose business based on the customer experience. And for me and my team, we have a direct impact on what that experience looks like. And so I wanted to be that change in terms of what differentiates us between our competitors And if we're able to offer the best experience or a phenomenal experience for our customers, then we won't need to worry about retention or growth or whatever, because our best experience is what's going to set us apart from our competitors. So I'm really glad and pleased that the work that I've done so far and the work that I'll continue to do is just going to help propel that aspect of things even further. So yeah, it was very much a surprise win, but very, very glad that I've been recognized.
I love you being modest. um, for our listeners today, today's episode called "From Support to Strategy." Jacob Eells on redefining customer experience leadership. So, Jacob, you've had a fascinating journey from technical support to leading CX teams. How did your early experience shape your philosophy around customer experience and team leadership? Because I know that you're doing your job for quite some time now, and you've built a,
Mm.
from what it seems, a very strong team of experts. Um, can you elaborate more on this?
Yeah, so I first started off my journey working in technical support for an emergency communications platform. And it really thrusted me into the world of SaaS technology, cloud computing, and also dealing with an international customer base. And within that role, it was my job to basically remain calm, professional, and knowledgeable around issues that customers were raising and getting them resolved quickly and effectively. As I grew in that role and worked at other software companies as well, what I found is more often than not, being in technical support or customer support and doing something for the customer, whether that's resolving a particular issue or a particular complaint that they had, what I found is that whilst I couldn't necessarily do it physically to resolve that issue, but I was bound by policy in which I wasn't allowed to do so. So what that actually meant was that I wasn't empowered to break the rules or go above and beyond from the policy that was basically told and dictated to me. And so it made me basically deliver a bad experience for the customer. Now, I am an empathetic person and very compassionate and everything. And to me, this felt really horrible because I could easily check a box for a customer to fix a really trivial issue or break a rule and provide a refund for them or anything. But that would actually risk my job. And obviously, no one wants to be losing their job. Um, and what I also found kind of in my early stages of my career was that I had managers and leaders that were very hyper focused on operational metrics and not on the customer experience or customer experience metrics. So this led to many, many, many decisions around controlling wait times or hold times, volume control, and those types of metrics and statistics and everything. So when I got my chance and my opportunity to move into management, I actually wanted to be the change that I wanted to see. So when I started to lead my teams and train them up and everything, I actually wanted to empower them to break the rules that I had created or go beyond the policy that we had created. And
Loved it.
basically, if my team could justify it to me and show that they created a better experience for the customer and therefore build trust in the brand with them, they would absolutely be doing their job correctly. And I would have trained them correctly to do so as well. And I didn't want to have that fear instilled in them or anything. So for me, I wanted my team to be able to provide that best customer experience. And as I mentioned, as long as they can justify it to me, they're absolutely doing their job.
I love this approach, and I think you're I wouldn't say breaking the rules, but you're changing something. You're changing something from within the organization. You're changing something from within people,
Mm.
and I think that you're this allowing thing. You're allowing them to try and while trying not losing their head but being reasonable. I think it's a fresh perspective, and I really like that.
Yeah, it's about understanding the dynamics of people that are actually delivering the experience. And for me, knowing from the places that I've worked in and where I've been in everything, and being frustrated in the fact that by policy or by procedure, I wasn't allowed to do something. To then be able to empower my team to go above and beyond and bend the rules or break policy or whatever. Ultimately, as long as it's in the benefit of the customer, that's going to build upon their experience and build upon their emotional bond with us as a company, then that's their job done completely. And I'm really proud of the fact that when my team have done that, that they've been empowered to do so. And if they've gone slightly array or maybe something that I not necessarily felt comfortable with, we've taken that as a learning opportunity rather than an opportunity to break them down or to punish them or anything like that at all.
Yeah, that's I think that's pretty much the way workforces should be shaped in 2025 and beyond, you know. Um, yeah, so you're obviously a big advocate for empathy and CX. Well, me and you the same actually. Um, can you can you share a time when an empathetic approach made a significant difference for a customer or even a team member? You know, something that you feel okay with sharing with us today?
Yeah, I mean, this takes me back to one of my first positions as a customer support manager, and I was managing a team of six agents, and I had a senior customer support rep, basically confide in me that they were really struggling in terms of their mental health, and a lot of that struggle was coming from work-related stresses. And for me, because I worked my way up in that company, starting at the same level, moving to a senior position, and then into a management position, I really understood how the strictness and the harsh work environment and everything can impact on someone's mental health. And even I myself have struggled with mental health issues and everything. So I really felt for this individual and everything. So one of the things that that was outside of my boundaries, one of a better of a word, was I basically said to my senior rep, "Go and take a mental health day. Go take a day off. Don't care what you do, but just don't be here. The team and I can manage without you for the day. Just go get that break that you absolutely need." Um, and I do remember quite vividly having a conversation with the director that I reported into, basically saying that I didn't have the authorization to give someone a mental health day, and it wasn't my decision to make and everything, and kind of really trying to put me down for that decision that I had made. And even though I had given really good reasoning and understanding of the situation and why I allowed that to happen and how much of an impact it actually had on the team operations and the day-to-day stuff and everything, it was still quite a negative experience that I had to deal with at that time. So my senior rep went and had a nice day off to relax. They spent time along the beach, walking their dog and everything, and actually came back the next day feeling a lot better, a lot calmer, and a lot refreshed and everything. And quite literally, the first phone call that they had picked up was a really challenging customer and wanted to basically raise a complaint because their computer wasn't working. It was, probably the worst call to come back on from a day off and everything. However, by allowing my senior to have that day off, they actually came back with like this renewed energy and kind of renewed passion, and actually went above and beyond to resolve that customer's issue, as well as providing an excellent experience, making jokes and laughing at them, saying, "Oh, our computers don't work without a cup of coffee in the morning," and things like that and everything. And it was really nice from that outside perspective to kind of go, you were struggling 2 days ago. We gave you a day off, and then today you've come back in, dealt with a really challenging customer, and actually did it with a smile. And what that actually showed to me is that prioritizing, my staff and the people that I manage and everything, prioritizing their mental health, their kind of passions and emotions and everything, actually delivered a much greater customer service and customer experience for them. Um, and so since that kind of moment in that day and everything, I've really advocated for empathy within leadership and actually shown the understanding in terms of if you support your team members correctly and provide them with the space that they need in order to recover and grow, or whether that's to learn and grow in terms of their professional opportunities and everything, not only benefits the customers, but ultimately it benefits the customers. And so for me, that was my job done and completed.
I couldn't love this example more, actually. I love this story. I don't know why it reminds me of a conversation I once heard when Simon Sinek said he gives an example on QBRs, quarterly business
Mm,
reviews and performance reviews, especially among sales teams members. And he said he once heard the head of sales or VP of sales at that time calling a sales rep to their office and say, "Hey, what happened to your numbers? Why you're not delivering? You're not even close to hitting your quotas." Instead of being more empathetic and just say, "Hey, everything's okay with you. Are you okay? Do you need anything? How can I help you?" And I
Mm.
think that this is kind of the key element on not just being in a blossom environment, is just being a better you, and being, bettering everyone around you. And I think that
Yeah.
based on what you're saying, and based on what I've managed to see, I think you're doing that quite well.
Yeah, it's all about the ripples. One of my favorite kind of metaphors, imageries, whatever you want to call it, is the idea of throwing a pebble in a lake or in the sea, and you start seeing ripples, and it goes bigger and bigger and bigger. Something small and insignificant can have such a massive effect, and that's what I love about these types of situations and everything. Is that whilst the decision that you're making may be very minimal or small impacting, it can have a massive effect not only on, in this situation, it was the senior representative. It could have been a different customer. It could have been someone from the leadership team. It's about the ripple effect that it can have and everything. So yeah, I'm really proud in terms of how I handled that situation, and also standing up for when someone didn't see it in that empathetic light.
Yeah. And I think this is my favorite question. I wouldn't say $1 million question, because $1 million today is just, another
Yeah.
amount. Um, I think this question for me is like, the the bread and butter kind of question. So at CareScribe, you've built a culture of growth and learning. What are some strategies you've used to coach and empower your team to deliver exceptional support?
Yeah, so at CareScribe in particular, we have a great culture around growth and impact. And one of the things that we do regularly every 6 months is we do a growth and impact review. So that basically means going through, understanding where were you 6 months ago, where you are today, where do you want to be in the next 6 months, understanding the key competencies of a particular role, and are we delivering against them, and understanding actually what are going to be our focuses over the next 6 months. Are they in line with our company objectives and things like that? And what do we as managers need to do to enable that individual or that team to basically grow and have the big impacts that we know that everyone can have? Not only that, we also have regular one-to-ones with our team members as well, and this is a really good opportunity to have that weekly check-in, understand if there are any kind of personal issues that we may need to be aware of, if there's any things that we can do to help and support that individual, or just basically keep in touch in terms of project work and understanding if there's any roadblocks or anything like that at all that we can help remove. And we also do quarterly reviews that forms part of the cycle's natural cadence as well, and that gives us an opportunity to reflect on the previous quarter's actions, and basically look forward to what impact we can have next on the business. And in particular, with my one-to-ones that I manage with my team, I practice something that I call radical honesty, which is just basically means that no matter what you need to say, just say it. Don't think about how someone's going to react or anything, because more often than not, when you try and sugarcoat something or try and push it under the bush or whatever you want to call it, you're not actually saying what you need to say. And it works both ways. My team can be radically honest with me. I will be radically honest with them. And it actually just allows everyone to have that really good open feedback and communication with each other, so that if there is an issue that we need to resolve, we can do so in a productive manner and everything. Um, and I hold myself account to this as well. I will also absolutely talk about the mistakes that I've made and how that might have impacted my team or a particular process or something like that. And without that honesty built into those one-to-ones and everything, you don't build that trust, because one of the things that I've learned being a leader is that you yourself will make your team successful. However, your team will make you successful. So you have to have that back and forth. You have to have that give and take. And it is that two-way street. And for me, if I can be as open and honest as possible, that's the way I'm going to build my trust and get that buy-in from my team, and therefore everyone succeeds. So yeah, just a couple of strategies and things that we do at CareScribe and everything, as well as kind of what I do individually.
Yeah, and I love that. And I'm also myself being brutally honest in business and life. I think that's the way to go. Sugarcoating won't cut it anymore. We're kind of in a generational shift, if you wish, when it comes
Mm.
to workforces. It's a big subject, I know, but I just thought, mention this, point it out. this generational shift in workforces and workplaces. Um, and people have different needs. People see the worlds in different eyes, and I think that all these strategies are great. I think they work. They should work. They are working for you, um, and I couldn't love that more.
Yeah, and it's about having that human centric aspect of things. If you put the individual at the core of kind of the feedback that you're giving, or when you're looking at growth and impact or career opportunities and everything else like that, putting the individual at the heart of everything just helps make sure that you're providing the opportunities that that individual needs. Or if there is a blocker that's stopping them from doing so, it allows you yourself to remove that blocker if you can.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about analysis. So, data
Mm.
driven decision making is a core part of your role. How do you balance analytics with the human side of CX to create meaningful and effective solutions?
Yeah, so it's an interesting one, particularly for us at CareScribe, because within our industry, we deal with people that have neurodivergencies and disabilities and basically struggle with everyday life. So those that might be hard of hearing, might have vision loss, but also those that might have ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, sorry, um, and other conditions like that and everything. And because we deal with those people that struggle to process information and things like that, we know that our products can actually have a profound impact on their quality of life just by having access to our products. So when I'm analyzing our support data and kind of our metrics and things like that, I'm always reminded of the human at the end of it and reminded of that individual that helps to that statistic or whatever that may be. And when I first started back at CareScribe, what I had noticed very, very quickly is that for every single support ticket or issue that we had reported to us, what I had found when diving further into it was that there was at least two or three more instances where a customer had the same issue, but they weren't reporting it to us through either anxiety, didn't want to contact us, or whatever that may be. And so this actually transformed the way in which I would approach looking at trends and correlations because whilst I might only have 10 tickets reporting an issue about, for example, creating passwords, actually in reality, this could be up to 30 people, if not more, being affected by this one issue within our products. So what this actually meant was internally, me and my team basically had to become advocates for our customers to provide solutions to bugs and issues and really define the impacts that it was having on our customers. So we basically had to look beyond the data that was being presented to us in our reports and basically have the mindset of just because we've got 10 tickets doesn't mean it only affects 10 customers. And so actually what this then meant was that it provided us with a catalyst to look at our metrics that are well within our control within the customer support team and really smash them out the park. And one of the things that I'm really proud of to say is that for messaging, so that's web chats and contacting us through WhatsApp, we have a target of 1 minute to respond to a customer. And on average, for the past 6 to 12 months, we've been averaging around about 15 seconds. And for us, that just means that when something goes wrong and people need to speak to a human, they can absolutely do so quickly and get through to someone.
You're talking about first response time, I believe. That's
Yes,
the
indeed. Yeah. Average first response time.
wow.
So,
That's
yeah. So it's insane that we're able to achieve that metric and everything. And that just goes to show that because we're aware of just because one person has reported an issue doesn't mean it's just one customer that's it being impacted by. We want to make sure that if someone's reporting an issue, that we're able to quickly act on that, become the advocate of the customer internally, and get a resolution and a solution out as quickly as possible.
wow. I want to dig a bit more on this topic of KPIs and metrics. Do you often find yourself, like developing your own KPIs based on changing situations? Or you rather sticking to the well familiar known KPIs of customer support or something that was, I don't know, dictated by higher leadership or something like that?
So for me, coming into CareScribe, there wasn't really any metrics that we were tracking a lot of data, but we weren't holding ourselves accountable against metrics or anything like that at all. We didn't have specific targets in which we would want to meet certain deadlines by or anything like that at all. So when I came into CareScribe, that was one of the first things that I wanted to introduce was having a commitment to our customers to say, if they raise an issue by email, we will get back to them within 1 hour, not necessarily resolving that issue, but at least acknowledging their issue has been received by us and it's being done by a human rather than through any form of automation or auto replies or anything like that at all. So over the past year and a half or so, we've really kind of cemented our KPIs and what we track and everything. So at the moment, we mainly track kind of the traditional, in quotation marks, the traditional KPIs that you see. So mainly around average first response rate, customer satisfaction, NPS or net promoter score, as well as average resolution times as well. But we do track or get a lot of data that surrounds the support ticket. So how long do we spend on a particular support ticket? What's the first contact resolution rate and things like that? And whilst we don't have a particular target on them, it's still something that we track. And the key reason as to why we don't put a target against those particular type of metrics is because for us and our customers, they want to know that if they've reached out to someone, they're being handled by someone that is knowledgeable, but also someone that's empathetic, that can understand when something goes wrong, how frustrating and how disruptive that can be to their everyday lives. And so that's the metrics that we focus on, is being able to provide that empathetic support to them by providing them with that quick first response and by understanding actually what's going on and everything. So that when we do then become advocates internally, we're armed with all of that knowledge and that power to be able to deliver those solutions.
Wow, I love that. So the CX landscape is constantly evolving. We all notice that. What do you think? What trends or challenges do you think will define the future of customer support and experience leadership? If there's like, I don't know, one particular or even five things that you think that will, define the future of this space.
Yeah, I think it's the buzzword of the year at the moment, and that is AI. And I think that is the biggest technology change or shift that we're seeing so far within the customer experience world. Um, And I think there's a lot of good things around AI and everything. However, I do strongly believe that the biggest challenge with AI is that humans are naturally social and like being spoken with and speaking to other humans and everything. And what I fear is that CEOs and other business leaders will see AI as a cost saving measure by gutting customer support and customer experience teams, and therefore actually lead to a worse and overall experience for them and therefore then starting growth. And I do believe AI is a powerful tool and it can be used to enhance and propel customer support teams and customer experience teams to deliver better experiences, particularly when volume is increasing, tensions or stresses are high, and there's just generally more demand for customers and everything. However, I don't believe that AI should be a full replacement for the human touch, who can offer empathy, who can go outside the policies and procedures or parameters of the specific situation that's being presented. And I do believe that humans do add that extra level of compassion to their work and everything. And so it is much more satisfying, in my opinion, to be able to provide a solution to someone who you have felt their pain and their frustration, rather than having an issue resolved by an AI bot. Um, so I think for other leaders in the industry, I think the challenge will continue to demonstrate the return on investment that customer experience brings, and how that world isn't just fixed on the post process sales. Because as we all know, customer experience starts with a Google search of your company name, looking at your storefront, or even just hearing about it from a friend. Um, and so sharing the knowledge, the experience, and the expertise in delivering on the emotional drivers at all stages of the customer journey and coming into contact with businesses will actually drive that advocacy and therefore drive revenue, retention, and sales and everything. So, so yeah, and what I also think kind of is is another trend and challenge at the moment, is that more often than not, customer experience leaders are told to stay within their silos or told to stay within their bounds, when actually their experience and their knowledge can actually help shape how customers interact with the company through small little wins that can have a big impact. So yeah, that's what I see as the biggest trends and challenges over the course of this coming year and over the next couple of years as well.
Yeah, I think to your point about AI, as I see it, it's easily and not that slowly becoming a cultural thing. Let me explain.
Mm,
So, as I see it, in the next couple of years, even less, we will need to give examples and ideas and just explains our approach on how do we use AI on our day to day. What I mean by that is that just imagine yourself being, I don't know, a CX leader or even a support agent for that matter, and you have to kind of explain how you're utilizing AI best way possible to make your day-to-day more productive. So how familiar are you with AI in your particular space? Because AI is a big word, is a big space, it is quite general, right? So
yeah.
how much of an expert are you when it comes to AI within your workspace, within your particular job? Okay, so I think
Mm.
that this will be um, kind of the next big thing in AI and trends in particular in our industry.
Yeah, and I also think having an understanding in terms of where AI should be used appropriately and not appropriately, and having the critical thinking skills to know actually if we apply it in this particular aspect of the journey, it's not going to actually provide a better experience. It's just going to replace something else. Whereas if you apply it thoughtfully and logically and with the understanding of what is your actual outcome that you're trying to achieve, that's where AI will have that profound impact that everyone is looking for. So yeah, I completely agree that AI is very generic at the moment, and we're still learning about it. It's only been around for probably the last 2 years, maybe slightly longer. And so it's still very much early on in its infancy and everything. So how that technology is going to grow over the next 2 to 5 years and everything is going to be well beyond our imaginations today and everything. But it's really exciting. But we still have to remember, in terms of customer experience, we still need to have that human touch. It's humans interacting with humans that create that bond and that emotional response that we're all looking for to help drive the growth and retention that we're all looking for.
Totally. And now for our bonus question, and I know a lot of our
Hmm.
listeners would love to hear your take on it. So, for someone aspiring to grow into a CX leadership role, what is one piece of advice you'd share to help them succeed?
So, the one bit of advice that I would share to anyone that is looking to move into a leadership role within customer experience, customer support, or whatever, is actually a line from the musical Newsies. Now, my friends and colleagues know that I'm a massive musical theatre nerd, and theatre often reflects where we are in society. And within the musical Newsies, there's one line that really hits home for me. And that being a boss doesn't mean you have all the answers, just the brains to recognize the right one when you hear it. And that to me speaks volumes because it's your team that makes you successful. And in turn, you make your team successful as well. So ego, arrogance, and self entitlement might get you so far. However, it's those around you that will make you a successful leader. So you don't have to have all the answers or anything. But if you hear a really exciting answer, run with it and really embrace that idea because together, that's where you'll be able to achieve success.
I love the analogy. Jacob, um, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, enlightening us with a lot of strategies from the trenches. Thank you so much for sharing your key takeaways from your workplace. And thank you for your time. For everyone who wants to follow Jacob, I urge you to do that on their LinkedIn profile. Jacob, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.